we have, this year alone, we have organized about 4 competitions for the home-based athletes.
Okay.
We have taken them to Ethiopia, we have taken them to Kenya, we've taken them to Mauritius, we've taken them to USA, we've taken them to Bahamas.
Now,
which federation has done that?
No, you just talked about where you've taken them to and, of course, the competitions you've had. No, outside organizing competitions for these home-based athletes, what happens after that? Because apart from Essie, Brume, and, of course, Divine Oduduru, everyone, they know about them, all other athletes that are actually the ones that were discovered, what are being done? Do they get grants from AFN, or do they have a standard that is being set for these athletes to get grants for them to be at the top level? Because that's really the issue. It's not just enough to organize competitions and for the athletes to come and participate, and that is the end of it. Now, those ones that are able to come out tops from these competitions, what happened to them after, outside the 2 I just mentioned?
Well, let me be frank with you. It's not the responsibility of AFN to give grants to athletes.
Okay.
It's not done by any federation in the world. But even with all this, some of the old, I don't want to mention names, but
if we get the right information, it will definitely help us, because talked about some people don't really know what is happening in AFN.
So
that's why you're here. If you can get the names, apart from the 2 I mentioned, that would be better.
You can't give all the athletes grant.
Okay.
But if you see an athlete, okay, like a sprinter now, who is doing about 10-1 and is very young.
Okay.
You know, like if you encourage this kind of athlete, in another few years, he might be doing 9 something.
Okay.
So those kind of athletes, we have a way of assisting them.
Okay, in what ways? In what ways?
Financial assistance, get them good coaches and all that.
So how many have we done this year? I mean,
I'm coming.
Okay.
But you see, most of the athletes are complaining. Okay, a 28 years old athlete running 10-3, 10-2, and is complaining that they are not encouraging him. How do you invest in a 28 years old, in 30 years old, like something years old?
Okay.
You see, basically, it is the responsibility of the clubs and the states to prepare their athletes. We have conditioning camp for athletes. If not for the police situation this year, and there was so much tension in the country, last year we had conditioning camp for athletes, where all the athletes that have chances of getting better, we invited to, because of the Nigerian condition, poor accommodation, poor facility, we went to a camp in Abuja where they are well fed, they have access to all the facilities, and they get stipends. And you see, most of our athletes, when they go for international championship, they get a lot of money. Some of them should also believe that you should just make savings and plan for the season. Okay. An average Nigerian athlete makes, who went to the Commonwealth and the African Championship, made close to 2-3 million last year.
Okay, and the money came from the IAAF or? No,
some from the federation, some as allowances, grants, and bonuses. Okay. I mean, elsewhere in the world, like an average American athlete, we invest this back into his or her career.
Okay.
So, I mean, for the established athletes, they should also do some sort of investment. And Alison Felix will not wait for the US Federation to plan a season, because it's a career. So I think our athletes should start seeing this sport not just as a vocation, but as a career that they need to invest in.
Now, okay, basically what happened in Bahamas, because it was after the fallout of Bahamas, we start hearing stories and all that, where the issue of where AFN had to like go for foreign athletes, you really not address that. I mean, spending money on them. So why is AFN really doing that? You know, looking for athletes abroad and come around for Nigeria, more like a shortcut to success.
You see, coming back to what I'm saying, that AFN, we don't have any athletes.
You know, I'm talking about bringing them in to come compete.
We don't
who is responsible for bringing in athletes? Okay.
AFN does not bring athletes.
Who bring in athletes to compete for Nigeria?
We don't have athletes. It is the clubs. Athletes represent club and states. Okay. If you go to any of our competition, like if you want to do trials now for people to represent at the World Championship, we don't have a single athlete. The athletes are from a club or a state. And if you come from a club now and you say your name is Cecilia, you are from Borno State, and you have a Nigerian passport, you are going to say you are not a Nigerian to run for us.
Okay, so it's actually the states that recruits these athletes and give them to AFN, and you guys just look at the passports and that's it?
No, I'm not saying that any state is recruiting athletes from anywhere. Okay. But you see, the issue of Nigerian in diaspora running for Nigeria, playing basketball, playing baseball, is as old as the history of sports in this country. And if somebody says he's a Nigerian and he can satisfy all the immigration requirements, He can play basketball for Nigeria. He can play football. So why not athletics?
Okay. Okay, now another point is you talked about some of the athletes that have been given grants and all that. I mean, the younger athletes. Can we know the numbers this year? I mean, how many of such athletes have benefited from, when they compete at the Mauritius? You guys went to Mauritius this year. Of course, you went to Ethiopia, won the gold medal and finished top and all that. But Mauritius, because of issues and only 12 athletes had to compete and all that. So can we have the names of some of these athletes that benefited from AFN Largesse this season?
Well, you see, because this thing is not, it's not something that is being done by the federation. Okay. It's not as if we have funding from government to do this or for corporate Nigeria. Okay, like, let me be athletes from Kwara now. They get a lot of assistance from Alhaji Abdul Karim.
From the state's government?
Yes. Athletes in civil defense, they get a lot of assistance from civil defense. Athletes from Delta, they get a lot of assistance from the government and from our President Suleiman Ogba. Athletes from the Navy, they get assistance from a board member, Nesiama. Athletes in Ogun, from Ogun State, they get a lot of assistance from Falilat. In fact, they were even camped in Ogun. Ogun, yes. Yeah, assistance of, so these things, they're not, it's not
okay, more like each of the AFN board members, wherever the state they're from, the athletes that are there usually get something out of them. But Delta happens to get more because you're having the AFN president coming from Delta State.
It's not because AFN president comes from Delta. Okay. It's the fact that Delta, it's not just athletics, Delta, they invest in all the sports, probably because they have more resources than other states, and maybe because they love sports. So they invest more in sports than any other state. So it's not about... although the president of AFN, who is up for data, has passion for athletics. But it's not just for athletics. He also invests in table tennis, in virtually all the sports. Because of his passion, he invests in all the sports, not just athletics. Okay,
coming back now, World Championships, of course, just some in July, some few months away from now. So preparations for that, is it online?
Well, basically, we start our Golden League to prepare the home-based athletes for the trials. And like I said earlier, we are the only federation that runs a league in Nigeria without support from any quarter. Okay. So we are the world relays. These are part of the build-up. We are the pen relays. These are part of the build-up for the World Championship. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Kayode, for coming on the show. Of course, we'll get to talk to you again more because whatever's going to happen at the World Championship, we just hope that there's no other fallout of, accusation and all that coming from everywhere.
Well, definitely there will be accusation and all that. But you see, the thing is, people will always talk. But you see, what I'm saying is, let them judge this federation vis-a-vis other federation that came on board May 2013.
Okay, thank you very much for coming on the show. All right, okay. Well, on the second part, we'll be talking the Champions League, and of course, we have Pep Guardiola just talking about the fact that he will go on all attack. He will definitely want to attack when they face Barcelona tonight. Of course, well, Mascherano is another guy who played under Pep Guardiola. He believes that, well, Barcelona, all they need to do is to just go there and wrap it up and get to the final.